Good morning again, gardening friends. It's Vicky. I'm over at the rental house today and I just wanted to show you the progress I've been making on this little border. So if you remember in my previous videos, what I had planted in here was the blanket flower and this, I think it's called false sunflower. Heliopsis helianthoides sunstruck. But yeah, I believe the common name is false sunflower. Anyway, gets this variegated leaf. Kind of cool. It's only been in the ground about a month and it hasn't gotten taller, but it should be established now. Like, these blanket flowers are definitely putting out new blooms and looking better. I wouldn't say they're looking great, but definitely starting to get like some new healthy growth on here. I think I mentioned in previous videos, I think because of the fact that they had been spraying this property with like herbicide to kill weeds before I moved in. I think that was like just in the sand or in the ground, you know, and so I think it really has caused these plants to struggle to get established. But anyway, those are what I had previously planted. Also, these here are yarrows. These are the peach sky firefly, I don't know, something like that. There's 3 of them, and they are getting healthy new green growth, so they're establishing well. We have some orange butterfly weed, which I did have blooms on these, but I don't see any currently. But that's what this plant here is. And I've got 3 of these. And then I've planted a whole bunch of new stuff in here, so I want to go over what that is and why I did that. I wasn't really planning on putting a lot more in this bed, but I had a bunch of plants on clearance that were just sitting in their little pots over there. And it's hard to keep things like that alive over winter if it's not in the ground or you don't have like a greenhouse or something with just the right growing conditions. So I decided to go ahead and plant them into this bed, and this is going to be like a holding area bed for me until I move back to the other house next year. And then what I'm planning to do is transplant most of this stuff back to my other house. And then I'm not going to leave this bed empty. Like, I'll put something in here before I move out so that it doesn't look bad. But the stuff that I want to take with me to the other house, I have 3 Russian sage plants that I bought on clearance. As I mentioned in my last video about my patch of Russian sage at the other house, I'm still adding to that every year. I'm trying to get it bigger and fuller because I really want a pretty thick Russian sage shrub area. This bush right here, I may or may not leave this one here. I got this on clearance. It's called Lotus Moon Pearl Bush. It's not a native. It blooms white flowers in spring, and I guess the buds kind of look like pearls, and then they open up to this, trying to get onto the tag for you, to a pretty, you know, white flower. So those are very beautiful. Like I said, I'll decide if I want to move that in the spring or not. I might just donate that to this house. These, if you remember, were like these tall, weedy, I don't know if they're iris or crocosmia or Nyphophia. I'm not really sure what this is, or maybe some kind of grass that I'm not familiar with, but there's all of the dead stuff that I pulled out of there. And I just cut down all the top. Like, there was so much weeds and dead in there, it was just gross. Also, all this plastic right here was the plastic border that went around. That was just really degrading and falling apart. It was literally, yeah, just degrading and falling apart, so it was terrible. I'll make this bed look better, like I said, before I leave this house. Leave it better than I found it. I moved my little pot of coneflowers over here, and I am planning to take this with me when I go back in the spring. All of these are zone 4 and up, and they should overwinter and survive in that pot for me. So I shouldn't really have to do anything too special with this. Just treat it as if it was in the ground and they should come back. I moved one of my roses over here. This is from the other house. It's either a orange lady shallot or a red, I think it's called Lincoln. It's a climbing red rose. So I had 2 roses that I brought with me from the other house, and unfortunately I did not mark them, so I don't know which is which. So like I said, that's one or the other. I'll probably just take them back with me to the other house, but I might decide to leave it because these are extras. So what happened is when I moved the parent rose of these, and the other one that I'm going to show you down at the other end, but when I moved the parent rose, I must have left a little piece of root in the ground, and that grew into this little plant. And the same thing happened with another one. So that's a cool way to get extra roses if you're ever curious. If you're just like moving them and you miss a little piece of root, then you might get another plant out of that. These are the pink yarrows that I had mentioned that I wasn't sure if I wanted to put in this bed. Well, I decided since I'm just basically holding everything over until next spring or summer, whenever I move, I might as well put them in. They'll do better in the ground than they would you know, in their can. And then I have 2 little patches of what I would call unknown wildflowers. And so what this is one of them, and I'll show you the other one. I had 2 pots that I had planted with seeds from my mom's memorial service. My Aunt Audrey had made up these little seed packets, kind of like in honor of her, I don't know, just to pass out to people at her memorial service, and so that we could plant them in our garden and think of her. And so I had planted these 2 little pots up with these seeds, and then you know, the tree fell in our house and we ended up having to come over here and all of that stuff. And so I brought those pots over here, and I didn't really know what to do with these. I'm fairly certain they'll just die if I try to keep them in the pots all winter. So I just decided to go ahead and plant this stuff. I don't know what it is. It's a little, you know, collection of different things, but it's always fun to be surprised with what you're going to get. And, you know, I'll move those over to when we move back. And if some of them get left behind, then a little piece of my mom will be in this part of the world too. So I think that's nice. There's some dianthus here. I have some. Okay, so I'm really confused. Some people call it carnation, some people call it pinks, some people call it sweet william, some people call it dianthus. But this reddish flower right here, it's kind of more like a berry pinkish red if you ask me. But I have some of this in my other terrace garden, and it blooms really early in spring, and it was just so vibrant. I'm pretty sure it's the same flower. Anyway, I told myself if I come across this flower again, I'm getting more of it to move to the other house. Well, this is before the tree happened, but I just said if I find that flower again, I'm going to get more because I really loved how vibrant and beautiful it was. Now, the color on this is not striking me as vibrant as the other one, but it is really colorful. And I think that what I've found with a lot of perennials is that the first year that you plant them, you don't get to see their true glory, so to speak. I think they need a year to go underground for their roots to like really get big and establish. And then when they come up the next year, all fresh and perfect, they just look so amazing. And so a lot of times when you're first establishing a garden, you know, and you're looking for that instant impact, like, yeah, it looks okay. It looks pretty with the colors and stuff. But all of this stuff coming up next year will look much better than it does right now. And that's just how it is. So anyhow, I'm hoping that this is the same flower, and I'm planning to add that to my collection at my other house in the terrace because it was a gorgeous color. Another thing that I have over here is 2 more black-eyed Susans. I mentioned that on my last video at the other house that I wanted to add another black-eyed Susan to each side of my terrace where I already have little patches going. I just want to make those patches bigger. So I found these on clearance, and that's what those are. And then this last plant over here is that last rose that I was telling you about. So this is either Lady Shallot or the red Lincoln, or whatever it's called, some sort of red climbing rose. So again, either orange or red. And if I did decide to leave those roses here, the nice thing is that they will go with the colors in this bed. So the colors in this bed are primarily orange, yellow, and red. And since I am going to be taking stuff with me, like the yarrow, I'm probably taking that sedum, even though I was planning to leave it because look at this color on the tag. It says Autumn Fire, and it's definitely like an orange or a red color. But these are pink. So I don't know if they're going to continue as they open up and we get closer to fall. I don't know if they're going to get more orange. But right now, these are not looking orange. So I'm probably taking those with me. I'm definitely taking this yarrow with me next year. I'm definitely taking all the coneflower and the Russian sage. Oh, I forgot to mention this one little plant here is a salvia that I found on clearance. I'm not going to dig the tag out of the mud, but it's like a blue variety. So all of these plants are all coming with me, and the coneflower. And so the point is, what I do leave behind is probably going to just be the orange and yellow flowers. These yarrows that are back here, the peach sky firefly, whatever they're called, they open up a very peachy orange color, and then they turn into a yellow color, and then eventually they fade to kind of like a brown color. But they're super charming, I think. I really like the colors. And these blanket flowers, I dropped seed all around through here. And so even if I decide to take like some of these blanket flowers with me when I move, the seed should grow up and fill in this bed nicely. And then also, I'll probably leave these coreopsis. I think this is the only bloom I've got open right now, but I just deadheaded it, so hopefully we'll get another flush before the cold weather comes. But yeah, I'll probably leave these, and these will also self-seed and help fill in this bed. So that's what's going on over here. I think it looks much better, and it makes me feel better that I got all of those clearance plants in the ground, so I don't have to worry about like watering them over winter, and I don't have to worry about, I don't know, like providing them with light, because they're probably going to be in my garage. Things I am going to have to overwinter though in the garage or in the house are, I bought a bunch of these on clearance. They're Dichondra Silver Falls. These look really great in container plants. They get really long and hang down, and I wanted a bunch of those for next year, and I just didn't want to pay full price. So when I saw them on clearance, I snatched them up. Some of this stuff is just like my house plants that I always take in during the winter, like this cactus and the spider plants. These are 3 crabapple trees that I'm still planning to either give away on Facebook or possibly plant here. We'll see. I don't know if I should plant 3 trees in a rental house that, you know, I'm not staying at. That's probably not right. And then this is a serviceberry shrub that's kind of hanging on. I really should plant this somewhere. This is a great native plant, and I just changed my mind about it at the other house, and I want to get a different type of serviceberry that's like a tree form. This plant right here is not doing the best. I think it might already be getting too cold for it at night, because we're getting down into some like 50s, upper 50s. So even though it's only early September, I'm probably going to be moving most of my houseplants and stuff in soon. And so I've got to get that stuff set up with lighting. This is just all the empty pots from everything I just planted today. There's a bunch more seed in here. And so that's something I typically do, is I'll save the seed heads, and then where I want to grow more, I'll just kind of drop them or even bury them in the ground. This is a a plant that I will have to move indoors. It's hardy to zone 7, I believe. It's a, so this one right here with the shiny leaves and the white flower is Pillow Talk Gardenia. It has the most amazing fragrance. If you guys don't grow any gardenia, I recommend it. And then these back here are agapanthus, midnight blue agapanthus. I just stuck these in here today. So I'm planning to overwinter these in the garage. These are hardy down to zone 6. And since we are technically considered zone 6 here, you would not want to keep these outdoors in a pot. So I thought putting them indoors with this gardenia would be a good plan. And then I'm planning to like put these in the garage with lights on them over winter, and I'll just have to remember like once a month I need to go in and water them or something. I might even put it somewhere in the house. We'll see. I have to look up everything first and see like, is it pet friendly and, you know, safe for cats, safe for dogs, all of that. So that is just the rest of that's all houseplants. And then I haven't shown you guys this area. Oh, first let's go look up at my, whatever you call this bed. Here's some of the dichondra silver falls that I have been growing for a little longer. And this stuff too, I'll probably dig this up before winter, and whatever I do with that other group, I'll probably put this in the same place with it. But look how long that one is trailing over. And I've got some potato vine here. I'm going to take clippings of this and plop it into some water and put it under lights for overwinter, because this will very easily seed, or not seed, root, like grow roots and live in the water. And so that way I can start with free, you know, live sweet potato vines next spring. And I already have a ton of the dark ones inside. In fact, maybe I'll show you guys that at the end of this video. You know, or right here. Let's just go inside real quick. I'm gonna pause. Okay, I didn't want to wake up my husband who is asleep still, but these are all clippings, and you can see they are rooting. So I just cut these about 3 or 4 days ago at my other house where I've got the purple sweet potato vine, and I read that you could grow them indoors if you have them under lights, and you just have to change out the water every few days. So that's what I'm doing, and it's working fabulously. They're already growing. All right, I'm gonna pause again. We're going back out. All right, so we're down here. This is the very first area that I started planting when I moved into this rental house. And if you remember, I bought these Itea, I think is what they're called, shrubs. And they are native in my area. And when I planted them, the reason they have so many little twiggy stems here is because when I first planted them, there was a lot of dieback. And again, I think it's because this property has been getting sprayed with herbicide to keep the weeds down, and nobody really maintains the, you know, there's no landscaping to speak of. It's just basically mow the grass, spray the weeds. That's all they were doing. And so all of the plants when I first plant them kind of suffer, but they are getting through it happily. I do see green growth even on the worst looking shrubs like this one. And then these, as I've mentioned before, I want to dig all of these out, and I don't know, maybe, you know, on the other side up there where I was showing you where I'm currently storing kind of like houseplants and stuff, just right around the corner there. I was thinking, since there's already some grassy type stuff like that over there, maybe if I do dig these up, I might just stick them over there. But they're really hard to get out. Like, I don't know how deep these are down. Every time I've tried it, I just give up within a couple of minutes because it's so hard. But it really looks terrible. And in order for this little shrub installation that I've put in to look good, they need to come out. So I do still plan to do that. I don't know when that will happen. It depends on when I feel up to it. So hopefully before winter, but if not before winter, you know, maybe we'll get a lot of rain in the spring, and then it'll be easier for me to get in there. I'm just really not sure. This geranium is out of bloom again. I think it's a really cool plant, so I did start collecting some of the seed pods that it makes. So I started collecting some of these to take to my other house, and I'll just try sticking some in the ground over there and seeing if I can get some of it to root or to grow for me. Here's my shrub. What is this again? I want to say it's a native juniper. I think I left the tag on there somewhere, but I always try to hide them. Yes. So this is called a sea green juniper. Oh, maybe it's not native. It says Juniper chinensis, which is probably from China. So anyway, I decided to put that over here. Eventually, this should fill out to about the mailbox and go another foot or two this way. And then I have this grass right here, which I know is kind of surrounded by all this other grass, which looks bad right now. I need to either cover that with cardboard and lay mulch or pull that out. You know, one way or another, I got to get all that grass out of there. But again, as I mentioned in my last video, I extended this rock wall out because it had wrapped kind of like right around here. And I decided to have it go down this way because I think this is where it used to go anyway. I think there was already rock down here all the way to this point. And I think that it looks more natural with it connecting back there instead of like coming down here and stopping and then having it go out that way. So anyhow, this grass, once it gets big and full grown, it will be 4 to 5 feet tall when it has its seed heads on it in the fall, and it looks really beautiful. I have 2 really big ones at my other house, and they both look really nice. So between this grass and this shrub, that will fill out this whole side of this bed. And then over here, once these Itea shrubs get fully healthy, like next year when they leaf out in spring, they should look much better. And eventually these will reach about, I think it's about 4 feet wide also. I spaced them apart so that they should have just a tiny bit of room between them. I don't like it when they grow together fully as one hedge, but when they have a tiny bit of room between them. So that's what's going to happen over here. I could cut back all of this ugly green, I'm fairly certain it's lily of the valley foliage, which I probably will do. It will just come back in spring, like straight out of, I'm sure, this whole bed. Like, I see that it's laying down toward the front, but I don't think that's the way that it was originally. So I expect it to grow up through this whole bed. And lily of the valley is extremely hard to remove from a bed, and I'm not tackling that. Like, this is not my house. Lily of the valley is, I don't know, some people like it, but it's also a pain in the butt because it looks pretty for, you know, just like 2 or 3 weeks in spring, and then the rest of the year it just kind of looks like this, and it's just a really aggressive spreader. But the sun starts like right about here, and so the lily of the valley won't really come any further than this. It shouldn't, because it needs to be in shade. And so this part from like here over is pretty shaded, and then from here going that way gets sun. The only reason this is shaded right now is because we're getting into close to the winter months, and so the sun is lower in the horizon and this area won't get as much shade. The reason that I picked the Itea shrubs, not only were they on clearance, but also they are native, and also they can handle full shade to full sun, I think, if I remember what the tag said correctly. Ooh, I need to get some more soil. for this one. But yeah, this is what the healthy foliage looks like. So eventually it will look like that. And then as we get into fall, the colors will start turning and they'll get more of a kind of a maroon tint to them. So they also get some pretty fall color. I don't know if they're going to do that this year because, again, they're just getting established, and I'm just really fairly certain that there was some poison in this soil that is, you know, harming them. And so I don't know we're going to see their true performance this year. I would say next year they're going to look much better. And then just as a reminder, I also planted that, I think it's spilled wine weigela up there. That should eventually get about 5 or more feet tall and kind of fill in that corner up there. And I think the nice dark foliage contrast with like the pinkish red blooms will be really pretty. And these Itea shrubs get white blooms in spring. I have gotten a bunch of the trees that are like growing out of this wall. I cut them back, and then I have this stuff called Stump and Vine Killer, I think is what it's called. And it's basically like this liquid, and you just paint it on, and it's supposed to kill that sort of stuff, like take the liquid back into its roots and like kill it. So it should stop, hopefully, growing out and poking through these walls. Like, it's one thing to have, I don't know what this is. Looks kind of like a mondo grass or something. But like whatever this grass is, it's one thing to have something like that growing out of the walls. It looks kind of pretty. A little messy, but kind of pretty. Or, you know, something like these sedums that grow out of the walls, because they're pretty. But having those ugly trees like this continually growing out of the walls. So I need to cut this down. And then again, apply that stuff to these stumps, because it's just a nuisance that you're constantly dealing with when you have terracing. I have it at my other house as well, and it drives me crazy. So terracing can look really pretty, but it's a lot of work because weeds are always trying to grow in between your rocks. And sometimes those weeds are trees. And then you've got whole trunks coming out of them. Okay, well, I think that covers everything over here at this house. I might go to the other house and do a video over there today. Not really sure if I'm feeling up to it, but we'll see. If not, talk to you next time.